lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Although this is not the typical video I post on my channel, I feel like this is a very important one. A couple years ago, my husband and I relocated from California to Florida when we found out we were pregnant, as we didn't want to raise our child in California. I have a video on that in the link description below. One of our hesitations about Florida were the storms and hurricanes. But when we came to the west side, to the Tampa Bay area, everyone we talked to mentioned that they haven't had a hurricane direct hit since the 20s. As they say, it's very unusual for a hurricane to come from the southwest. But in the past 3 years, this area was barreled by 3 big hurricanes: Ian, Idalia, and now Helene. It's no secret that during the Vietnam War, the US military spent millions in cloud seeding to extend the monsoon season and flood the routes used by the enemy fighters in the Vietnam. It was the first large-scale effort to manipulate the weather for military purposes, at least that we know. A couple years ago, I watched a documentary about climate engineering called The Dimming, where they explained the shocking truth about our weather and the real threat to our planet, and that is not climate change. Tonight, we'll watch it again.
What we're watching financially is a great deal of public policy being promoted on the theory that we have climate change. And yet in that discussion, we never talk about, well, what's all this spraying and how is that involved? Engineering the weather gives you the ability to overcome or prevent droughts. It gives you the ability to inflict them if you don't go along. And the brilliance of inflicting a drought is there's no popular support against you. So this kind of invisible warfare, if it can be done, is very effective, it would seem to me, both positive and negative. Well, imagine if you can predict the weather over long periods of time, how much money you can make.
I began to test for some of the primary elements named in climate engineering solar radiation management patents, starting with aluminum, barium, and strontium. My test came back from the state certified lab. To my dismay, these elements indeed were present in significant amounts, and subsequent tests showed higher and higher and higher amounts, continuing to escalate until one test was as high as 3,450 parts per billion of aluminum. This is highly toxic rain. I knew my life would never be the same because I can't look the other way. It's completely intolerable for me to live under toxic skies. And what about the trees? What about the bats, the bears, the birds, the bees? They have no voice except for us.
We were really lucky we didn't have any severe damage to our house, but others were not as lucky. Guys, it's about time we drop our agendas and labels and come together as a family. We all have been lied to and played with for too long. We've been too busy pointing fingers at each other instead of seeing the bigger picture. Let's raise our consciousness, go inwards, and question everything. We can turn this around if we want to. It only depends on you and me. I'm sending you love, light, and healing.